Nitrogen-containing substances here, hydrogen ions, variable control over how much water is absorbed and how much sodium. What's the hormone that regulates sodium? Aldosterone. So aldosterone, if there's a low blood volume or low solute concentration, aldosterone's released and it causes sodium to reabsorb and water follows it. That increases your blood volume and your blood pressure. That can also work on the collecting duct. Antidiuretic hormone causes water to be reabsorbed because you make about 1,200 ml of filtrate per minute. That's a lot. You don't want to lose all that in urine, right? So, so that's under hormonal and control. Okay. So the urine is changed as we travels along. It may be changed also in the collecting duct. This is the end here. This is where, out here is where we have the glomeruli. Some are out far here. Some are closer to the medulla. If they're out here, they're called cortical nephrons. If they're close to the medulla, they're called juxtamedullary. It means it's near the medulla. So this is the cortex. This is the capsule. This is the medulla here. In between, you have the columns. Now, the urine is finished by the time it reaches this end called the papilla. Then it's just collected. Minor calyces, major calyces, pelvis, ureter, renal artery, renal vein. Okay. Okay, so that's brief thing here. And the same thing here. So we go from the kidney, collect the urine down the ureter. Notice it enters the back. Oh, let's see. There you go. Here. Okay. And the smooth area in front here is called what? Trigone. Okay. And then we have the internal urethral sphincter here. And external is down in what's called the diaphragm. So we have two sphincters again for control. And here again, anybody know what this is? Nope.
Oh, it's the bladder.
Nope. Well, this is the bladder. This part's the bladder with the trigone. But what's this little purple thing down here?
Prostate.
Prostate gland that surrounds the beginning part, okay? So this is a male. Okay? If I left out anything, that's... So you shouldn't expect to find sugar and amino acids or proteins in your urine. That's a bad sign. Okay, so let's take this way. If you want me to go over to the, I can go over the, why don't I get those big ones over there on the reproductive system. And then I'll let you look at these other ones here too. And I guess this one here too. This is another model. I got to remember to try to put up the keys for that. Yeah, no, this one here. Before we do this, we'll do the kidney. Kidney right in front of you. That's a reproductive. This is the kidney right there. Okay. Okay, so a lot of that I've already covered. Okay, right? Oops. Nope. What happened? Okay. So we've already covered most of this. I just wanted to point out different cells in different parts. We have the simple cuboidal with lots of microvilli here. When we get to the distal convolute tubule, we're going to have, more cuboidal, not as many microvilli when we get to these areas here. Okay, I just want to point that out. Here was simple squamous. This is the vasa recta. These are peritubular capillaries. This would be a cortical nephron, juxtamedullary nephron, with a long loop of Henle. And only about 15% or so are these juxtamedullary nephrons, but they're very important for controlling how much urine you make and how concentrated it is. They're the ones that really do that a lot. And what kind of cells do we especially find in the kidney? Cuboidal. Okay? Okay, let me... Can't do everything today, but I'll just sum up almost everything.
Yeah, what else do we have besides that?
Well, there's a lot. And then you have to look at the cadaver and the slides. Okay, female reproductive tract. What's this back here? yeah. Here's the anus, okay. What's inside there? Lots of feces with lots of what? E. coli. So got to watch out for those because you don't want to wipe from the back to the front because they get transferred forward. Or if that thing's around, it transfers things around too. Okay. What would this be? Nope. It's not the urethra. This is the urethra. Vagina. So here is the uterus, the body, cervix. Okay, but up here is the ovary. Ovaries make the eggs and also estrogen, progesterone. And then this is the beginning part of what we call the oviduct, also called fallopian tube or uterine tube. It goes by 3 names, unfortunately. And the eggs rupture out of the ovary. And these are not connected, so there's a possibility the egg actually get into the peritoneal cavity. And you have an ambitious sperm, you might get a pregnancy outside the uterus. If it's outside the uterus, that's called an ectopic pregnancy. And you have to terminate it. Or sometimes ectopic pregnancies can be in the tube, and that's also very unlikely to go to term. It can kill the mother if it ruptures, okay? But that's not due to the gap. But the gap would allow something to be out here in the peritoneal cavity. So the egg only lives for a short time, about a day or so, and the sperm only for a short time. So the egg needs to be fertilized. The trip from here to here is about 4 days or so. So you need to have fertilization in the tube. And the egg then, if it's fertilized, starts to divide. And by the time it gets down here, it's actually gone through several cell divisions, and then it implants in the wall here. The wall here is called the endometrium. And this is the myometrium, smooth muscle. So this is the end of the uterus. It's called the cervix. This is the vagina. Here's the bladder and the urethra. What type of tissue is in the bladder, by the way? Transitional, okay. And this is the pubic bone. This is called the mons pubis, the fatty area sort of in front. It has hair. This is the labia majora, also has hair. Labia minora, no hair. And what would this be? Clitoris. All the guys see that? Just checking, making sure. So, but you have to be careful out. You don't want the E. coli here to get up here, nor do you want, there's often a lot of fungi in here. You got yeasty type things. Don't want them to get up there either. And very close together, so you've got to watch out for that. Okay? Make sure you wipe front to back. Pee before and after intercourse. Drink lots of cranberry juice. Keep the area clean and watch out for those guys. Okay? Because they tend to. And here's the egg, of course. Now everything's enlarged, by the way. The eggs aren't that big.
It's a big egg.
It's a very big egg. Okay, why don't we look at the male now? And there is an answer key on the back, by the way. I'm just hitting the highlights. Again, the sperm are not this big. Isn't that horrible? Oh, God, like snakes. So there's a little cap called the acrosome, which has digestive enzymes. And the DNA is here. How many chromosomes? Anybody know how many chromosomes are in here? 23. The normal amount is 23 pairs, but we get down to 23 because when this fertilizes the egg, we're back to 23 pairs. This is the midpiece with lots of mitochondria, using fructose as the energy source, and then the flagellum. Okay. Okay, again, here's the anus, but a long way from here, right? So you don't have to worry, plus these get in the way, so you don't have to worry too much. Men are not as likely to get bladder infections as women. Women are much more likely because of the proximity of the anus to the urethra and the vagina to the urethra and the short urethra, very short urethra. Here's a much longer urethra from here all the way up to, look how far it is, much longer. Okay, well the sperm production occurs here down in the testes under the influence of hormones like follicle-stimulating hormone, which also causes the development of the eggs. From there, it goes to something called the rete testes, and then into the epididymis, this thing that looks like kind of like a comma on top of the testes. And we do have that showing on the cadavers. And they're still maturing. So when they're first made, there's like tubules. They're immature out here, and they have 23 pairs. And as they undergo meiosis, they get down to 23. But they still can't move on their own. They're very sluggish. They're little lazy little buggers. They have to be moved along, okay? They can't move on their own. They're not fertile. But as they move along the epididymis, they get more and more mature. Someone may sneak into vas deferens. This is called the ductus or vas deferens. Like in vasectomy. In vasectomy, they don't have to go into the body. They can just sit here, right? It goes up and over the bladder. These are called the seminal vesicles. They make most of semen. So we have sperm plus semen. These make most of the semen, the fluid. And they join together to form the ejaculatory duct. This is the prostate gland we saw before. And they kind of ooze their secretion into the urethra. Now notice this is the bladder. So we're sharing the same tube with urine and semen, but not at the same time. Luckily, it closes off if a man's ejaculated. This is called, now we also, besides having a single prostate, a pair of seminal vesicles, we also have the bulbourethral glands in what we call the urogenital diaphragm. This is where we also have skeletal muscle that controls urine. Because urine starts to come out, but it's stopped here by the skeletal muscle. The bulbourethral glands are the first to secrete when a man's excited, so you get sort of a thick, clear, sticky, mucousy type thing that cleans out the urethra, commonly called precum. This is supposed to be erectile tissue.
Sorry.
This is the root, this is the body and the glands, the tip of it is kind of enlarged, and sometimes the skin over the tip there is removed in what we call a circumcision. Okay, and do you remember parasympathetic or sympathetic for erections? Parasympathetic, right? And ejaculations? Sympathetic, point and shoot. Okay, and this is called the scrotum, and that can move up and down. Depending on if it's cold, it moves up, or if the man's excited, it moves up. If it's hot, it moves down, because you have, the reason why these are outside, it's not for decoration, it's to keep the temperature cool, because the sperm production is better then. Okay. So that's sort of quick and dirty. I'll let you stay. And this is a poor little uterus. This person has a lot of problems. They have fibroid tumors, polyps, cancer, I think, cervical cancer. This person is in big trouble. Endometriosis. But there is a key for this if you want to look at it, but you don't have to know all that. Okay? I'll let you go study it.